'Cause We're Nerds, the show that covers trends in comics, movies, video games, board games, and much more. Caleb's on assignment in New Mexico, so this week, I'm your host, Andy. And with me is the Riddler to my Batman. It's Chris. Today we're taking a look at DC's newest superhero movie, Birds of Prey. Is it worth seeing? How does it handle these relatively unknown characters? And is it actually a sequel to Suicide Squad, or does it stand on its own? Find out on this week's episode of 'Cause We're Nerds.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
It's us again.
It is.
I'm sorry. We got back from Birds of Prey yesterday.
We did. Yeah, we went to go see it.
Not
like 2 miles away, so we got back.
yeah. It was a very quick drive over there.
Very short movie, I thought.
I didn't realize it was only like 90 minutes.
Yeah, which was interesting. Which
Yeah.
was fine.
Yeah. The movie, of course, we're talking about, if you somehow missed the intro, is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, or one
Yes.
Harley Quinn.
Or as the studio changed it to be on your ticket stubs, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because apparently Birds of Prey and what was it?
Yeah.
The Fantabulous blah 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 is too long.
Yeah. I mean, like, marketing it as a Harley Quinn movie kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I remember you telling me, hey, you want to go see Birds of Prey like sometime? And I was like, what? Birds of Prey, yeah, the Harley Quinn movie. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a victim of that. Or a victim?
Well,
Part
yeah,
of the problem.
part of what need the audience that needed to be educated, right?
Sure.
Because as we're going to talk about in a little bit, these, like, the Birds of Prey are, like, at best a B team in the DC universe, not necessarily in, like, terms of quality of story, but just in popularity.
Sure.
So bit of background.
Mhm.
Birds of Prey was a comic book centered around usually Dino Lance's Black Canary and Barbara Gordon's Oracle in the late 90s. Started in 1996, written by Chuck Dixon and then Gail Simone, whose Twitter is fantastic. It's a wild ride if you ever follow her Twitter. But
I see you guys talk about her relatively often
yeah,
in the
in the Discord.
in our Discord.
Yeah.
The C&C Power Hour Discord.
That's true.
Always
Yeah.
got to get that throw in.
Right. Yeah, you got to throw it in somewhere before the end.
The mention.
Yeah. It's definitely she's a very creative person, and giving her that platform on the internet is very interesting. But because she's also a very good writer. She's written a bunch of great episodes of TV, a bunch of great comic books, and one of her most popular comic book runs is on Birds of Prey. So it's kind of like it's a usually Gotham-based superhero team that occasionally has, like, slightly more questionable superheroes on it. But normally it's like normal DC stuff. There's not a lot of killing in the Birds of Prey line, and they take their jobs very seriously, and it can be very interesting. Adding Harley Quinn into the mix is very, like, animated DC, where you get to see characters that are much more popular interact otherwise, because Harley Quinn isn't super popular in the comics.
Gotcha.
Because she was actually a DC animated series original character.
Ah.
She only appeared her very first appearance was in an episode of the Paul Dini Bruce Timm Batman TV show.
Gotcha.
Batman the Animated Series, which is great. It's old. It's late 90s.
Is that still the Mark Hamill one?
Yeah, where Mark
Good.
Hamill's the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh no, I almost called him Bruce Conroy, Kevin Conroy. Like, that's all right. Is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
/ the Batman.
My intro to Harley Quinn came specifically from the Arkham series, the
Mhm.
video game series. Because I've not been much of a comic book fan. Or obviously the comic book related television show. Because I didn't
Right.
watch those. I only know by kind of after the Arkham series came out.
Yeah.
Things about, like, the fun fact about Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because he voiced the Joker in that, and Kevin Conroy voiced Batman, and they got Tara Strong back to voice Harley. She was the
Yeah.
original voice actor for her. Uh, yeah, no, I mean, like that's easily the most accessible, I think,
Hmm.
in recent years because there haven't been that many like super popular Batman cartoons or
Yeah.
DC animated movies. But the video games are like they're big, and they both are like Harley Quinn plays a huge role in those video games. Uh, but almost none of the other birds do.
Right.
Uh, so I mentioned Barbara Gordon earlier as one of the birds in the comics. She doesn't show up in the movie. It's very clear from the marketing, but it's really interesting that she doesn't show up. I think there's room for her to come in later, but
Sure.
uh, she's Oracle at that point because Barbara Gordon was originally Batgirl
Yeah.
until the Killing Joke in the late '90s, where the Joker shoots her and breaks her spine and paralyzes her from the waist down.
Oof.
So she's bound to a wheelchair for most of the rest of DC's continuity until
Interesting.
recent years. And so when she became Oracle is when they started Birds of Prey around the same time.
Gotcha.
Um, and so like these are not very popular characters, and
Yeah.
even the villains aren't very popular in the movie. So Black Mask, Roman Sionis, shows up in. I want to say he's someone that you deal with in one of the Arkham games, but I think they only talk about him, and you never actually deal with Black Mask.
Gotcha.
Um,
There are a lot of references in those games to
yeah,
stuff that's not actually in. Like
yes,
there's spoiler collectibles.
yeah.
If you haven't played them, like
Oh, they're real good.
yeah, they're real good. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
if they're not actually referenced by voice in the game, I'm sure it pops up there.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the characters that is referenced in that and also shows up is Victor Zsasz,
Hmm.
a serial killer, and at best, C or D tier Batman villain.
Yeah.
Like, like it was really interesting. I didn't even know he was in the movie, and I watched all the like marketing stuff, and
Oh, really?
and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going. I knew very early on that I was going to see this movie,
Yeah.
and I still had no idea until I watched it that Zaz is one of the characters.
Gotcha.
And not that they're bad characters. It's just that it was very interesting that this was the choice of characters to show up,
Hmm.
and I think it works, and I'll talk about why a little bit later. But um, I guess the other bit of background that we need to go over is Suicide Squad.
That was a movie.
Yeah, and we're done. So let's as
Good, because I had nothing to say because I never saw
it's
it.
okay. I didn't actually see Suicide Squad either.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I wanted to, and then it came out, and then I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know of any redeeming factor Suicide Squad had beyond Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn.
Gotcha.
Um, at least in all like everything that I've talked with people about,
Hmm.
and seeing this movie didn't make me want to go back and watch Suicide Squad. I didn't feel like I missed anything.
Gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know about you.
I don't. I mean, I honestly I don't know. I don't think so. Um,
From what I know of the general Suicide Squad plot line, not just of the movie, but
mhm.
of what the Suicide Squad is and the DC universe, there is a literal line that is a reference to the movie,
Oh,
and
wow.
as far as I can tell, that's it.
Mm.
So, and considering that they're literally rebooting Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's pertinent
Mm.
or if it's just something Harley says. So,
Mhm.
it's you don't have to see Suicide Squad to have enjoyed this movie.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, like overall, did you enjoy this movie?
Overall, I think it was a an enjoyable movie.
Okay.
Like there are parts that I loved. There are parts that I didn't love. There are parts that I had um, maybe just some trouble following, and it's just the kind of like movie watcher that I am.
Mhm.
And again, not following much of the comic books or anything like that, or earlier animated TV shows, I didn't have much to go on.
Mhm.
I've seen, when it comes to DC superhero movies, I've seen the Batman trilogy,
The Nolan trilogy.
the Nolan trilogy.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the earlier Batman and Robin, Batman. Oh gosh, what were those?
So it's Batman, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, and
Yeah,
Batman Returns.
yeah,
I don't know if it's that order. I don't think it is, but
yeah.
uh,
So I saw those, and then the Arkham games, and that's my like limited DC superhero, at least in this part of like the DC universe, where it's
right.
like Joker and
The Gotham side.
yeah, the Gotham side.
Yeah.
So, and of course, like you and I, we watched a little bit of Gotham. We watched some
A
of
lot of the Flash.
a lot of the Flash, a lot of Legends of Tomorrow and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So as you know, as soon as I heard Dinah Lance, I was like, ooh, I know that character a little bit,
Yeah.
like just by reference. So it was cool. I think with all these, like all the superheroes, whether it's Marvel or DC, it's fun. It's fun just to revisit these worlds that you sort of like know about, right?
Yeah, that have
Um,
permeated pop culture for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, like it's exciting, and it's cool to see those little threads pop up. Um, we could talk more specifics about what I didn't like or
Yeah.
or liked.
Yeah, we'll do that. So if you haven't listened to a Cuz We're Nerds movie review episode, we do a non-spoiler review at the very beginning, which is what we're doing now. And then we do a spoiler review towards once we're done talking about that.
Mhm.
A little over halfway through, I think, because I don't think that the spoiler review is going to be much longer than the non-spoiler review, because we
Yeah.
kind of want to give as much detail as possible without throwing it away. But the takeaway for me, I think, is that it's worth seeing, even if you don't know a lot about the DC universe.
Sure.
Because even if you've seen almost every DC movie that has come out, uh, and every DC show, live action, or every DC show in like the past 10 years,
Mhm.
only like 2 characters are someone that you've come across before.
Sure.
So Dinah and Harley. Um, and okay, the Huntress, but it's not this Huntress.
Yeah.
Still, it's I think that it does a good job. Part of these characters being relatively unknown sort of helps the movie, because it doesn't feel like when it's Spider-Man or whatever, it's like, oh, another origin story,
Yeah.
right? Except so for this one, it's like you actually need to be introduced to these characters. And the thing about these characters is that it's not an origin story for them, right?
Right.
It's an origin story for the team, but it's not an origin story for the characters, which I think is a really, really good way to handle a bunch of lesser known characters like this.
Yeah, and I think the way that they introduced each of the different characters and each of their storylines was very good.
Mhm.
Just the background story. Like I know who these people are, even though I don't know who these people are now. So that is something that the movie really has going for it. So
Yeah, for sure.
as far as if you have not followed the threads before,
Yeah, yeah. So part of the storytelling thing is that it's a bit nonlinear.
Oof.
I
hard
say
for me.
I say a bit because it's like, okay, I'm the friend that when they tell a story, they get really into the story and they're like, wait a second, let me go back and explain this other very important thing.
Which felt like just happened because you started talking and then you're like, wait, so I'm the friend.
You see, okay,
This is multi-level
you
here.
pointed out the meta thing that I just did. Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
It's okay. No. We're good. We're good. That's exactly what I wanted to do. But yeah, exactly. It's like there's always that friend that's like, all right, and so like blah blah blah. 10 minutes into a story, they're like,
Yeah.
and the monkey and I. Oh wait, I haven't told you about the monkey that's in my car. And then they go back to, how the monkey got into the car.
Oh man.
That's sort of how this movie is done. Very, someone said Guy Ritchie, very Tarantino-ish.
Hmm.
It's nonlinear in the sense that it like takes a bunch of steps back in the movie, but it's almost always moving forward.
Yeah, I will agree. It is that's a very good assessment. Like it's always moving forward. The steps back aren't quite as drastic as like Memento or something like that.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I had to throw that in there because that's one movie that I have seen that's non-linear that I find kind of interesting, like
Yeah.
relatively. So, yeah, so it does do a good job of always moving forward and not necessarily getting stuck.
hmm even though you are doing a bit of backtracking, it doesn't necessarily. It's not boring, and it always adds new information,
Yeah.
which is useful.
The one thing that I kind of have trouble with though, from like a production standpoint, is like, um, it almost seems like, okay, half the movie is something that we've already seen because they do revisit some things that you've already seen, but presenting
Yeah.
it from maybe a different angle,
Yeah.
which those I do enjoy when it's like, let's see it from this person's perspective,
hmm
because I think that does add a lot to kind of the story, and it's a great storytelling element of getting that second perspective. Because yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Harley Quinn movie, but seeing it from somebody else's side helps.
Yeah. It's a very easy way to introduce these characters and make you relate to them by, so what ends up happening is like the story catches you up to a certain point within the movie of the character
Yeah,
very quickly,
yeah,
right? It's like, oh, this is Renee Montoya. This is what's happened to her up to this exact point
hmm
in 2 sentences,
yeah,
and then it goes to like from where she's introduced to the story to, or I guess it works backwards from where where her introduction is introduced versus where she's actually introduced in the story, like her
sure.
first where they first show up. Um, if that makes sense, it'll make sense if you watch the movie. But uh, I thought it worked really well. Something that we did talk about. It's a bit graphic.
Yeah,
It's very R rated.
yeah,
It's definitely R rated, and
definitely.
not like, I mean, like Deadpool's R rated for a bit of gore and mostly silliness,
hmm
and this one
Mostly silliness.
like doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
It definitely, there are some like meta fourth wall breaking that helps
Yeah.
break off some of the, like, this is a little bit ridiculous, and we recognize that.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, no, there's some graphic violence that's used to like establish a couple of characters,
yep.
and it may not sit well with everybody, but I think that's part of the point.
Mm.
I think it is less graphic than it could have been if it was a
Yeah.
different
Oh,
director.
totally. I
Uh,
agree.
but because like it's the most graphic bit happens like when the camera's not looking at the character that's being
Mhm.
uh graphicked.
Or it's like obstructed in some way. So
Yeah,
you're not actually seeing some of it, but you know what's happening because, like,
yeah, you can hear it.
and it's revealed moments
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Um, so I guess like with the overall plot, I liked it. If you need a quick summary. Um, Harley Quinn and the Joker were dating. Like that's their thing. Is
Mhm.
that like that's how people view Harley Quinn, not just in the movie, which is okay. This device I love, but
Yeah.
in pop culture, it's Harley Quinn and the Joker,
Right.
right? Like
Always.
it's that pairing. You mentioned Harley Quinn, you can't not think about the Joker.
Mhm.
The movie does that, and it's like it's a plot point for her to get away from it,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Totally.
Because it's like people talk about it being like a superhero breakup movie, which I like that. I like that description a little bit. But it's a very much a yeah I it's like a stance, right, from Harley, like I can be my own character and have my own interesting stories without the Joker, and that is like the beginning of the movie where she breaks up with him, and now all of Gotham is after her basically,
Yeah.
and through a series of mishaps, the other characters get roped in,
Right.
uh, fighting against Black Mask or Roman Sionis, and they all come together at the end. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I like the character dynamic. I think they all played their roles really well.
Yeah. I was gonna comment. The acting is superb.
Yeah,
It's very good. I loved Margot Robbie's portrayal of Harley Quinn. I think it fits with everything that I envisioned Harley Quinn to be. And even like, Renee Montoya, the actor, Rosie Perez, great. Like very, very. I don't know if she was typecast, but it was like what you would expect, right?
Yeah.
And even the Huntress was great. Like,
Yeah.
the kid,
Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the
yeah,
Huntress, great. Jenny Smollett Bell, I hadn't seen her in anything else.
yeah,
She's a really good Dinah Lance.
right, yeah, a really good Black Canary.
Yeah.
If you know anything about like the Black Canary, and part of her like superpower is like the singing part.
Yeah.
She's actually a singer. She's got a song on the soundtrack,
Yeah.
which is used very well in the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
That's another thing we were definitely going to talk about
Yeah.
in a second. But
yeah, the music.
yeah, the music. Cassandra Cain's actress Ella J. Basco. I hadn't seen her in anything else.
Mm-mm.
Kid actors are tough to be convincing. You know,
She was good.
she was good.
Like, no, I loved the way that they I love the way that because I didn't know anything about Cassandra Cain to begin with. So using this kid as like a huge part of kind of how the story moves forward, or even is resolved, was like, this is great. Like she did very well.
Yeah.
That's a big role for a 13-year-old to take on.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure, because she's very integral to Harley's personal development in the movie.
yeah.
And on top of that, the fact that she's Cassandra Cain doesn't matter. If the name Cassandra Cain doesn't ring a bell, or the name Cain doesn't ring a bell, Cassandra Cain was a bad girl
Mhm,
in the comics.
mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that Cain is named after somebody whose name I can't remember. I think it's one of the Batman creators. But yeah, so like in the mid '90s, she became Batgirl, and she was around for quite a while. But she's even more of a lesser known character than any of the other characters in the movie,
Yeah.
right? And so they sort of use that to their advantage. They just like give her the name Cassandra Cain, and she isn't necessarily the comic book character.
Sure.
But that doesn't matter because there's room to grow because she's a kid.
Right.
Uh, Villains, Ewan
So,
McGregor.
dude, he was good.
Yeah.
I thought um, his little nuances, his little like character things that he did were great.
Yeah.
Just like almost the little ticks, or the way that he got upset, or um, just
The way I think the way that he got excited really
the way that he got excited.
like
Yeah.
really
Oh
sold it
man.
for me. It's so good.
He's eccentric, like, and
There's
he plays that.
there's a let me show you around my house scene
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
right? That he sell like he has the time of his life with it.
Oh man.
I think it's very cool. I think it was a very fun character for McGregor to play.
Yeah. It
Uh,
makes you not hate him quite yet.
yeah, for being the villain, you don't like hate the guy.
Yeah.
Like you know that he's bad. You don't necessarily. There's an interesting line here where it's like you don't necessarily hate him, but
Mhm.
you don't necessarily relate to him.
Right.
You just think that like he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Which those are the types of villains that I love.
Yeah. How much quick like side story, how much of Romy Roman Sionis's like story is from the comics or from other parts?
So 100% from the comics,
Okay.
and that's the thing is that like the Black Mask in the comics is pretty vague. Like
Gotcha.
he is a mob boss.
Okay.
That's basically what it comes down to. The interaction, one of the main plot driving interactions that happens before the movie.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that's just set up just for the movie.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
but beyond that, like Roman Sionis is the Black Mask. I'm pretty sure that's legit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel real bad.
Origin story too.
Yeah.
Like kind of pretty much legit.
Yeah. I'm suddenly really worried that the Black Mask is a different character, but I'm pretty sure it's Roman Sionis.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty sure as well.
yeah.
From my Wikipedia research.
Yeah. I'm suddenly like there was like a brief moment of like, what if the Black Mask was always somebody different, Chris? Like, oh no, I can't get corrected on the internet. That's not how I work.
Oh.
Victor Zsasz, Chris Messina.
Ooh.
who I don't think I've seen Chris Messina in anything else. He plays like a really laid back right hand man to Roman Sionis. Laid back in the sense that like he knows where he stands,
Okay.
and so he's not like he's almost never stressed in the movie, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense,
yeah,
right? Like he always seems to be the guy with a plan,
yeah,
right? Um, and it's very different than the other portrayals of Zaz, where Zaz is basically crazy.
yeah.
And I didn't even know it was Zaz until he was named.
Mhm, mhm.
Zaz has one pretty defining characteristic in the comics where he's a serial killer that cuts, like, basically tallies his victims on
Yeah,
himself with scars.
yeah,
And you don't really see you don't see that before you know it's Zaz.
yeah.
Like they just tell you it's Zaz, and it's like okay. So I kind of heard the name. Um, their dynamic is really cool.
I was gonna say, like, the way that they play off of each other is very well,
Yeah.
very, very exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We were reading a bit about it, and sorry, there's a lot of subtext with their particular relationship,
Yeah.
um, and I think it works. I think they play off of each other really well,
Mm,
and they're written together very well.
mhm.
Um, So that kind of does it for we did a very brief plot summary, character dynamic. What do you think of like the action stuff and the way the movie was shot?
So there were some technical things that I enjoyed. Again, there's always gonna be parts that I love, parts that I hate. I feel like there were a couple scenes that were kind of slow,
Hmm.
as far as like particularly in the action stuff, where this fight went on for probably too long, in my opinion. But there were also like several different fights happening at the same time,
Yeah,
which is exciting because like there's always like let's show a new way to to defeat these goons, right? Like there's one particular shot where she's using a baseball bat, and it's like the way that it non spoilers here.
yeah.
The way that it just like the beat hits was like I liked it a lot.
Hmm.
So cinematically, like there's stuff like that, the small things that I really liked. There, you were telling me about this like one shot that they tried
Yeah.
to do, and they apparently did, and then broke it up. So like
Hmm.
cinematically, that's an interesting way um, to kind of approach a scene. Is let's shoot it as a one shot, but then kind of go back and interject some different parts of the action, which I think actually made it better.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's a oneer is, uh, you know,
Kind of impressive on its own, right?
yeah,
Like,
and it makes you appreciate the like the thought that they actually went in to do
yeah.
this.
And I don't think I talked about it, but it's a wonder where all of the actresses were doing their own stunts.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You didn't mention that, but that's like fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about it, and you'll see what we mean because it's like a wonder broken up into like two or three pieces.
Mhm.
Towards the end of the movie, and I thought it was really great. It really like showcased all of the characters' individual styles,
Mhm.
and did some cool little pairing up scenes, and
Yeah. Um, but in the same vein, where there are action scenes that are really good, and like that one in particular towards the end, and even action scenes that were slow, I felt like there were some scenes where they tried to maybe the fighting wasn't quite as well choreographed
mhm.
as. I'm sorry, I have my baseline is Marvel,
Yeah,
so
of course,
like,
it's going to be.
it wasn't. It seemed a little too um, more like a ballet than a. Uh,
Then a brawl.
Ugh, yeah, but ballet is like that's the wrong description.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely more of a dance
Yeah,
than
there's a Brazilian dance called oh gosh, capoeira,
yeah,
and it's like a fighting dance, right? It felt less like that and uh, more like a slower kind of fight sometimes.
mhm.
Um, I say that, and that kind of fight dancing is slow, but it's still the movement is very intricate. I feel like the action, the fighting was a little bit uh, broken, more or less.
Yeah,
It wasn't as fluid.
especially in the bit that you have a part with, it is very scattered.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about the movie, it is decidedly colorful.
Very colorful, which is great.
Mhm.
I love movies that use color.
Yeah, and it's basically just for fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's something to be said about good mood lighting
Mhm.
in scenes, and this movie has a lot of that, especially in the nightclub,
Yeah.
which I really like. I really like the atmosphere that they create, but um, a lot of Harley scenes are just bright colors or vibrant colors. I think is the word that I should use.
Sure.
Especially one of the scenes that's in the trailers, which is the blowing up of Ace Chemicals, where it
Oh,
just turns into
yeah.
fireworks, which is really funny.
Yeah. Very beautiful.
Yeah. Um, the rest of the non-fighty bits, the plot bits, totally fine.
Mhm.
Like there were some interesting shots, such as like the typical cop crime scene
Yeah.
reenactment
Yeah.
shot at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I did really love that scene.
yeah,
Um, maybe we'll have to talk about that in a second, but
yeah,
the way that they filmed it and transitioned was, muy very, very good.
yeah,
Muy bueno.
yeah. I really like that. The music, which we talked about a little bit ago,
Yeah,
great.
fantastic.
It's like a bunch of covers, a bunch of popular songs,
Mhm.
a couple of original bits, but it's good.
Yeah.
Everything fits, I think. Um,
It matters, everything's by a female, so, like,
mhm,
all the music is it just it sets the mood in that regard, because like, you don't like, yes, there is, Roman and Zaz as kind of, like, the only guy leads,
yeah,
and everything else is like it's a female powerhouse, which is like something to be said about this movie,
mhm,
which we can talk about later or we can talk about now. But just the music part was like my favorite song is at the end, and it's a hit of or a cover of "Hit Me with Your Best Shot," which is like, oh, it's so good. Like it's so dramatic. It's
yeah,
so well placed in the movie
mhm,
too. Um, it's good.
yeah. No, I agree, and it's like it all being women doesn't like. It's not unearned or it's not forced and it's not in your face. I always think about the scene in Endgame
Hmm.
where somehow all of the women characters are there together
Yeah.
uh, for reasons,
Right.
and
You're saying
that doesn't happen in this movie.
where
Like,
you're right, 'cause that in that it felt forced.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
everything in this movie feels natural.
Yeah.
It's uh,
Gave me chills for a second, sorry.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. It's better than I expected.
Sure, I can agree.
I think it's definitely one of those movies that like Uh, it's very much a greater than the sum of its parts, I
Mhm.
think,
Okay.
because everything does come in and work very well together.
Mhm.
Even though all of the parts are pretty good on their own or great on their own, when you mix them together in the way that the movie does, I think that it did probably one of the best jobs that it could.
Mhm. Do
Um,
you think that if there would be a sequel, I don't know if there is, but would you go see it?
I would go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely go see it.
Have they talked about it yet?
I don't think so,
Think it would,
which is what I'm worried about, but
yeah. Well,
there's plenty of time.
and there's, like, all
Uh,
the critics, like, reviews, whether they are true or not, I think maybe they haven't quite gotten a grasp of how well it has been received.
yeah, it's been received, like, by audiences very well,
Yeah.
and I can be a very critical person. We didn't go back and talk about my opinions on The Rise of Skywalker, although I had a brief or Caleb gave me a brief shout out in that episode, but,
Okay.
um, like, I usually come out of movies, trying not to be super harsh, but I wanna be constructive, right?
Mhm.
And so I will look at things that are bad and tear them down
Mhm.
and be like, "This is not how you're supposed to do that.
Mhm.
This is how it should be. This is how you could do it better." But I try to see where they come from in the film and, like, judge things based on that. And with this movie basically almost entirely being a passion project by Margot Robbie,
Mm.
right? like because like she put up a lot of funding for it,
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that it worked fantastically.
Yeah.
I would definitely watch a sequel. I don't care if the sequel is a Harley sequel.
I was gonna say, what do you think the sequel would be about? Would it be Birds of Prey Part 2, or would it be Harley Quinn and other people involved?
I would much rather another Birds of Prey movie.
Okay,
It doesn't necessarily have to have Harley involved,
sure.
although there are Harley Quinn character interactions that I would like to see in the future
Yeah,
that aren't even possible in this movie.
yeah.
So, in particular, one of the big ones in not just the comics, but like the animated series is Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Mm,
They make a very interesting team,
yeah,
and definitely something that I would totally watch that movie.
sure.
Like if it's like a weird buddy cop crime movie, like I would watch it.
Yeah,
Uh, but like Birds of Prey as uh as a crime fighting unit in Gotham City,
mhm.
I would watch that movie too.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
totally.
it shows this movie shows that it would work,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely on board. You?
Or yeah, no, I would definitely go see it. I think, uh, I don't know. I can't I don't have obviously those interactions that I wanna see necessarily, but, I guess being an outsider sort of in the comic book scene, how do you think, or how does Birds of Prey fit into like the Batman arc or anything like that?
So Batman is interesting in the comics in that if he's not alone, he's usually with a Robin.
Gotcha.
And the thing with Batman is that when it comes to Gotham, he is sort of like the progenitor of everything.
Hmm.
Everybody has dealt with Batman or become what they are because of Batman. And I think that eventually there would have to be a Birds of Prey movie with Batman in it.
Hmm.
I don't know what his role would be, and I don't know what I would want it to be.
Gotcha.
Um, I think it would be very interesting um, to have him on just like basically as a sidekick to the rest of the team,
Yeah.
which would be interesting.
Yeah.
But he is usually too busy to deal with whatever the birds of prey are dealing with,
Hmm.
or too busy. Sometimes it's portrayed as like he trusts them enough to get their own job done,
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
which is a lot of how Bruce operates because people leave him. Like
Yeah.
Dick Grayson goes on to be Nightwing, and
Yep.
Tim Drake goes on to be his own thing, and all the Robins leave, all the bad girls leave for one reason or another.
Hmm.
And they all get to do their own thing, and one of those things was the Birds of Prey because it was Oracle,
Yeah.
right? Well,
Yep.
former Batgirl. But I think that would be a very interesting movie. I don't think I want the Joker to show up in a Birds of Prey movie.
Okay. That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, I think that like um, unless he is like actively still, unless he's like actively the villain instead of like passively the villain at the beginning of the movie,
Gotcha.
right? Um, I or I think the only way that it would work if he's portrayed as like a bumbling idiot, basically.
Yeah.
Like if he's not. Whereas like Roman in this movie is very not like respectable or not like treated with respect, but a respectable villain.
Mm.
I think that if the Joker is treated more slapstick or incompetent,
Yeah.
I think I would like that better.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I feel like it's one of those things that going going back to your ex defeats a lot of like the self improvement that you did on your own, right?
Yeah.
So, which is not always true, but it's an important part of growth is moving on, and that's what
Sure.
this movie was,
Yeah.
right? And so I don't want the Joker back, and I think that there's so many other like DC superheroes that could come in, especially female superheroes, which is like one of the big things about Birds of Prey is that it's
Yeah.
usually an all female group.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I'll talk about at the end because I can't like really spoil this particular bit because it doesn't matter unless you know the comics, and
Mm.
it's not even a big thing to spoil, but it's we'll talk about it later. But I think that there's so many places that they could go and use Birds of Prey to bring in different people
Sure.
and tell different stories. Whether or not it's like the birds, like this movie where the birds are, you know, they're integral to the plot, but they're not the main. They're not necessarily the protagonist in the movie until
Yeah.
they are protagonists, but they're not the main character, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that there are ways to like shift that dynamic in a group ensemble movie
Gotcha. Yeah.
that I would like to see.
Yeah. Cool.
So I think that's it for the spoiler-free review.
Sounds good.
Yeah. If you care about what you've been up to, we'll put a timestamp in the show notes. It's gonna be very short because it's been a busy couple of weeks.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Uh,
Spoiler alert.
yeah,
It's been busy.
it's been busy. But so we're gonna get into the spoiler review.
Yeah.
And so last chance, if you don't want any parts of the movie spoiled
Tune out now.
beyond what was in the trailers, which even then I don't think we really talked about a whole lot.
We'll give you a couple seconds.
Bye.
All right, that's it.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a bit earlier when we were putting the show notes together, and you don't like the "let me tell you a story" trope.
I think because it's a trope, I don't like it. Like it's hard
Okay.
to get over it sometimes.
Yeah. No. I get it. I get it. The thing with tropes is that like they serve a purpose, right? They serve like a common jumping off point for a lot of things, and I feel like the way that this movie handled the "let me tell you a story"
Mhm.
thing was done well enough that I don't mind that it's a trope.
Mhm.
And like I'm also fine with the I don't know. I think it's like it's kind of integral um to certain comedy movie or to like a certain style of comedy of like I bet you're wondering how I got here, right?
Yeah, I think for me it just in a movie at this point it just seems forced.
Okay.
It's forced comedy. Like it's a forced way of presenting a story, and it's almost like an escape. And I kind of talked about this a little bit. It's almost an escape from an editing or production standpoint, because you reveal a part of the story, and then you go back and tell some backstory, and then you go back and show a little like that same scene again.
Hmm.
It's like partially filling time and partially like, well, if only I had just told this story at the beginning, I wouldn't have to go through this long tirade of, I bet you're wondering how I got here. And
Right.
like, six of one, half a dozen the other. You get there eventually. It just seems to, in my opinion, it's hokey. It's overused,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair. I feel like I thought that the balancing act they did with it was pretty good.
yeah. Yeah. All that being said, they did a good job with it, and
Hmm.
I think, um, knowing Harley Quinn's character, it fits with how this would happen.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
if she's telling the story, which she is, because she's the narrator and she's kind of the main like character more or less. She's telling you a story, and that's how she presents a story because
Mm.
she's gone through some stuff. So like maybe she doesn't remember. I'm going to tell you this first part of the story and then get
Yeah,
to it. But
yeah,
then also like the whole narration thing is part of the story, and it works that way. Like it has to work that way. If that's how the story is going to be told from almost a first person point of view, um, you have to do some of that back backtracking
yeah,
in a way.
yeah. And I thought that it worked. It worked very well for the characters because it gave them some time to shine on their own without cutting away from them. 'Cause it gave them like their own little mini story
Yeah.
back up until the point where where Harley's talking, trying to catch you up to.
Yeah. Which I
Uh,
do like.
yeah. Uh, so since we're in spoiler territory,
Yep.
right? We can talk freely about this. The movie opens up after Harley breaks up with the Joker by blowing up Ace Chemicals, which was where not only did she end up like bleaching her skin by falling into a vat of chemicals, but it was originally where the Joker fell into a vat of chemicals and bleached his own skin.
Mhm.
Um, it cuts to, or it moves into, or sorry, it cuts to like 4 minutes beforehand. Introduces Renee Montoya
Yeah.
as a very competent detective,
Yep.
and also introduces the hunter or the huntress in a way.
Yep.
In
No, the crossbow killer.
the crossbow killer, in a very, very cool, uh, you know, kind of tropey, but still very well executed. I'm a cop and I'm walking a crime scene and like talking about it out loud as it's happening around me,
Yeah,
basically.
very 80s cop movie type
Yeah. Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And that's exactly what they say too, and it's so good.
It's so true.
Yeah, the movie doesn't take itself seriously, so it knows
Yeah,
when it can make fun of itself
yeah,
and the stuff that it's doing.
yeah. That is something about a movie that I can really appreciate is when it makes fun of itself.
Yeah,
When it goes meta.
yeah, and so it shows like it's a good point because or I actually like that point because it introduces two characters basically,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And you don't necessarily find out the connection until the end of the movie.
Right.
Um, but when that connection does happen, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, like, in most movies, you come into, like, a murder scene, and it's like, uh, oh, some bad person came in and shot up a bunch of people, and this cop's trying to figure out what happened, right?
Mm,
But, like, we learn it's the crossbow killer, and we don't really know who she is yet. But part of the, like, detective part is her figuring out, "Oh, I can tell this is a woman." And it's like, just that part of, uh and then, like, the reveals and just the way that it transitions from, like, she's telling this story and how she believes it happened to them visually showing you what she's describing, exactly how it happened, and the way that it transitions from, like, the huntress's perspective when she walks into this restaurant to suddenly you're, like, on the other side of this, booth,
yeah.
and, um, Renee's Montoya's, like, narrating kind of the story as it goes around this. It almost felt like it could have been a one shot. I don't know if it was.
It looks like it is,
Yeah,
but there's a non-zero amount of like CG work to sort of blend the
sure.
scenes.
Yeah, but is the camera
I,
work?
I think the camera work of the last bit might be
Okay.
a one shot because there's a bit where the main guy, there's only one person that's shot with a crossbow
Hmm.
in this particular scene where he's shot and then it turns to Renee like examining it.
Yeah,
I think that may have been a single shot
yeah,
or very well blended two shots.
yeah.
It was very cool.
Very
Uh,
very cool.
I really liked that. And then afterwards, it goes into Harley blowing up Ace Chemicals and Renee finding out that it was Harley
Yep,
who did it,
yep,
and then a Harley chase scene,
yeah.
basically. Um, and
Which cuts? Wait, does that cut to the next day?
it's
At that?
oh yeah, okay, yeah, because it gets to the breakfast sandwich,
Yep.
uh, which is my one of my favorite characters in
No,
the
it's
movie is the
my
sandwich.
favorite character.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh
The
man.
sandwich has its own wonderful, wonderful story arc.
It made me hungry. It made me want Waffle House right then and there,
Yeah, yeah,
or something of that sort.
yeah, because it's like greasy breakfast
Oh
food.
yeah, so good.
Um, yeah, it was a very well crafted and great sandwich. It was actually a fun emotional hook to get you to relate and care about Harley a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Oh man.
everyone has that one dish that they cherish above everything else,
Uh,
right? That you go to a place for, you
yeah.
know.
Hers is this bacon, eggs sunny side up over easy with on
Three
a
slices of American cheese on a buttered ciabatta bun.
yeah,
Yeah, and
buttered, grilled, toasted,
mm,
griddle toasted, griddled. I don't know.
and griddled. Yeah, I like it. That's
Sandwich.
yeah, yeah.
So good.
And so like that's where Harley is the next day, and then
She's talking passionately about it, and like suddenly, yeah, we jump into the chase scene
yeah,
because Renee knows who it is and finds her.
yeah.
Um,
And so it's a chase scene, and it's also like the beginning of Harley's past catching up to her,
yeah,
which was a really interesting thing.
yeah. I liked the different reveals. Like for each kind of person that pops into the scene, she has some beef with this person, or that person has a beef with her, and it's revealed like name and what the
What was it? Oh no, it was like I want to say not. not Grimace, but
No, I want to say it starts with a G2.
oh no, Grievance.
Grievance. That's
That's
what
what
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Name and grievance, and like it's funny how they reveal because like suddenly you start to see characters that you've may have already met, and they're popping up like
Mhm.
one by one, and just all these people. It's a great way to kind of remind the audience of bits of the story, and then just introduce like wild things that have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, just add little bits of Harley's character very quickly
Yeah.
without a lot of setup. And yeah, I think that chase scene worked pretty well. I thought like it was well shot. It
Hmm.
wasn't like one of those like really confusing chase scenes or anything like that,
No,
which
that's
can
true.
happen. But like the progression of the chase scene made sense. Like it flowed fairly well, and you could like it felt like all of the locations were actually stitched together,
Yeah.
as opposed to suddenly she's in a warehouse or something or
Right.
whatever. Um, and then so that ends with the
They're
crossbow killer shows up.
Yep. They're in an alley,
Yeah,
and we think that the crossbow killer is trying to shoot Harley.
yeah. But then she
Um,
drives away.
well, there are a couple goons or people that she's had grievances with that are
Right.
standing there, and she's kind of having a fight with Harley's having a fight with these two guys, I guess. Maybe it's just one.
It's just one at the time.
Okay, and then yeah, so they're having a fight, and you see the crossbow killer pop up and shoot, and
Mhm.
it hits the guy that's there. Um, and we don't know anything more except, oh wow, the crossbow killer saved Harley Quinn. That's cool. I guess
Yeah.
maybe this will come up again. We'll see.
Yeah, and it seemed like she left because a whole other car of people showed up,
That's true. Um,
and then another car of people showed up,
yeah.
and then it sort of cuts away. But uh, I thought that worked because when it cuts away, it cuts to Renee,
Hmm.
who we've already spent a non-zero amount of time with.
Yep.
Um,
Back in the station.
back in the station, sort of, I don't know, being made to be sympathetic because she's not in a great position,
Yeah.
and it's it's totally like a totally reasonable and a totally real and relatable thing
Hmm.
because like ev- mm, everyone has moments when they're working on something
Hmm.
that they're proud of or that they put a lot of time in, and then someone else gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
And that's just like one of those universal life experiences.
Right. And
But
we learn that's part of her story too in the introduction of
yeah,
this other cop detective like taking her credit.
yeah,
So, but yeah, she's back in the station, and people are still kind of like, "Oh, you're just kind of a beat up old detective or whatever." And
yeah,
they're in uh, meeting with that guy, the one that took the credit earlier in life,
yeah.
um,
Danny Glover.
and just always kind of um, she always comes up short with like the passion
Yeah,
project. It's not quite. She doesn't meet the.
she doesn't meet this guy's standards,
Yeah.
but she meets 80s cop movie standards.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which makes you, sort of like be like, ah, okay, all right, this guy's clearly supposed to be an obstacle.
Yeah.
Um, and like they're in like that meeting with her and her ex,
Mhm.
and like they do a bit of like a good bit of characterization in that I liked where she gives away too much information that her ex confided into her.
Yeah.
Likely when they were dating, and uh, it's totally something that is relatable and it's very human. I like a lot of these characters are very human. Maybe not actually I was gonna say maybe not the Huntress, but I'll get to that in a minute because there are things about her that humanize her a lot, that aren't super clear until the end of the movie.
Mhm. Funny story. We when uh, Montoya walks into the station, she walks past Cassandra Cain sitting in a chair because she's been arrested.
Yeah,
So we don't really know. We have seen her once before in the movie. We see her pickpocket at a roller derby match,
yeah,
which is kind of part of an introduction to Harley Quinn's story. But then suddenly we see her pop up. We don't really know who she is. I don't even think we know her name at that point.
yeah. So you hear Montoya greets her as Cassandra,
Oh yeah,
like not smart enough to not get caught this time or something
yeah,
like that, and it's clear that like they've run into each other before,
yeah.
which I really like. Um, And then it cuts to after that meeting, it cuts to Dinah Lance giving her a call, and
Yep.
then specifically saying you've got to find Cassandra Cain,
Yeah.
and then it flashes back.
Yep.
So why Canary knows about Cassandra Cain and why Cassandra has this diamond,
Does it
right?
flash back or does it flash forward to
It
Harley walking in?
it flashes.
This is why I don't like the non-linear stuff, because it's like, does it go forward? Does it go backwards? Is this a
Uh,
reveal of the past, or is it a reveal of the future?
you're right. I don't remember when. I think you're right. I think it flashes back after Harley walks into the police station.
I thought it was flash forward to when she does walk into the police station.
No,
No,
because
I think you're right.
that happened more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there's a point after she walks into the police station where it flashes forward and it zooms through a bunch of the stuff that she's done at that point. Um, because like I think it's like the reveal of you got to find Cassandra Cain. She has the diamond,
Yep.
and then from Renee's perspective, Harley walks in.
Yeah.
I think, or it cuts to Harley coming into the station at the same time, around the same time, and then it flashes back and does the whole Dinah Lance Black Canary story, which I
Yep.
thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Back to the bar, and she's singing on stage and stuff like that, and the bar owned by Roman
mhm.
Sionis. So we get to like re-meet these characters again and again, and kind of get introduced to them.
I like that you always see like a different side of them every time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. So not only do you see a different perspective, a different personal perspective from the character that the little story is following, you get to see more of Roman being, just like a dude, right? Instead of just a nightclub owner,
Yeah.
right? And it's very interesting. And then like the interaction that she has with Cassandra Cain, like living in the same
Yep.
apartment complex,
Yeah.
and then also Cassandra stealing the diamond and getting caught. And
Yeah. It's like what's that movie from like the early or the mid 2000s, Crash or something like that, where you have all these characters kind of interacting with each other, but they don't really know who each other are.
right,
They don't know each other, but they keep
yeah,
running into
keep
one
running
another.
into one another. I still don't know how that movie won Best Picture, but yes, I do remember 2004's Crash. Uh, so yeah, it is kind of like that, and I think that it was well done, and we keep talking about it because this is the main storytelling point
Yeah.
in the movie. Police shootout scene. Uh, it was very colorful and very interesting.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why it feels a bit slow is that like because this is one of the scenes that you said felt a bit slow was that we kind of see it twice,
Mhm.
even though one time it's very sped up.
Yeah.
But it's sped up to basically the middle of it because it's
Mhm.
not done yet.
Yeah.
When we get to that point, she still like has one cop to like shoot on the way to the or to Cassandra's
Holding
cell.
cell. Yeah.
Um, and then there's a fight scene in the cells when she
Yep.
releases Cassandra.
Yep.
And there's a fight scene because Roman Sionis put a bunch of bounty hunters on Cassandra,
Yep.
and like they're all solo Harley.
Yeah.
And it's there's some bits that are cool, like the baseball bat cocaine bit.
Yeah.
The baseball bat flip I really liked.
Yeah. She
I
did that well.
I thought that was well done, and it like I don't know, I thought it fit,
That was you're talking about when she throws the bat and it
and it
bounces
bounces
down.
up and hits
I
him.
wish they had done that in one take, even if it was
Yeah,
CG,
yeah,
because they cut it when she caught it, and I'm like, man, you could have CG'd that and would have made it just a little bit better.
yeah.
But
It was a pretty cool stunt though. I
yeah,
liked it. It was
the concept was
very cool.
there.
Yeah,
It looked like she caught it too.
yeah.
I don't know if I don't know.
I feel like I think they catch it. I think you're right. I think they cut it like as she catches it,
Mm-hmm.
and then do a
It's like
close up of her being relieved.
yeah,
But it would have been. I agree. It would have been better if it was like that shot because like at that shot, it's like it looks like it's filmed like from a middle shelf
mm-hmm.
because it's in an evidence locker.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these fights happen in between
Mm-hmm.
evidence shelves. And that shot, you can kind of see that it feels like it's like lower,
Yeah,
like they shot it in between one of the shelves. And
yeah.
I think that it definitely would have been a very cool thing to just have that be a single take.
But I bet you're wondering how we got here.
Yeah.
So like I think this is where that scene is split up between when she walks into the police station, and then we go to the Black Canary stuff, and even at that point, Black Canary uh, walks out, and Harley Quinn's outside in the alley outside the thing, and
About to be kidnapped. Yeah.
yeah, Harley's about to be kidnapped, and Black Canary saves her. We get to see Black Canary's first like fighting scene, more or less. Um, see her kicking butt and taking names, and ends up kind of rescuing Harley Quinn. But what's interesting is that this is the point where Roman and Zaz see that, oh, she can fight. She's actually like kind of trying not to curse here. Uh, she can hold her own, more or less, is what basically.
Yeah.
And actually, Zaz comes down and says Roman wants you to be his new driver.
Yeah. Which is a direct consequence of Harley breaking his other driver's legs.
Yeah. At the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So suddenly, Black Canary has a new role, not just as singer, but as now a driver, which is an interesting transition because it kind of puts her in a bind. It's definitely not something that she wants to do because she's not even comfortable being a singer for Roman specifically.
Yeah.
But they're part of the Black Canary reveal. We get to go. She goes back to the apartment, runs into Cassandra,
and then runs into Montoya.
Yeah, runs into Montoya in the hallway, where we learn that Montoya asks her to be a more or less like rat for, to steal the movie's term.
Yeah.
A leak, a confidant, and she turns it down because Black Canary has a history with that.
Yeah. So in the movie, they talk about this Dinah's mom, the original Black Canary, who at least in the movie died fighting crime, and it's a very I think that it was a good way to like show that not necessarily all people with superpowers want to be superheroes or supervillains.
Yeah.
Right. They just sometimes they just want to be left alone because of the stuff that they've seen. Because it's not a pretty world, right? It's violent and gruesome, and the movie sort of shows you that. And Black Canary has seen that firsthand, and I think that like it's even though they have like they sort of part ways aggressively, I think it was done very well.
Yeah.
And that Renee was like really like not endearing, but I don't know, just like she meant what she said when she was like, "We could use you," right?
Sure. Yeah, this is after the part that we see Renee getting the phone call from who we learned, Black Canary.
Yeah.
As you need to find Cassandra Cain.
Right.
So it's that this is one of those points where it's like, oh, now because I didn't know who was calling when that happened, and now you realize who it is.
Yeah. Even before it actually happens, because like you see her ask, you see Renee ask her as she's like leaving her apartment. Well, you're the person that worked there last. That was the last driver. Was my mole.
Yep.
So I was wondering if I could do
forgot about that. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, that's why she was calling.
Oh man, that is a good intricate detail.
Yeah.
Because she mentions when Montoya is in the office with her lesser
whatever with her partner, her ex, and her captain.
Yeah, her ex and captain.
That stole all of her credit, right?
That the person who was in the job who had the mold, the information, is no longer in that position, and then it's kind of it's the guy that had his legs broken, the driver. Black Canary is the new driver.
Yeah. It was a really good connection. It was very well done. It's not like super explicit because she like sort of like stumbles over herself telling them that it's his driver.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to give away that it was his driver.
Right.
But she has to anyway. And I thought it was very, very well done. And then she runs into Cassandra stealing the diamond, basically.
Yep.
She doesn't see Cassandra steal the diamond.
Yeah. But
she tells Cassandra right before she does it, like, you're gonna pick the wrong person's pocket one day.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. So that's when she runs into Cassandra in the apartment building because she tries to steal something from her, right? Or
no, Cassandra's in the apartment building because she lives there.
Yeah.
Dinah gives her like $20 and is like, just go somewhere else.
Right.
Don't go back into that while they're fighting.
Yeah.
And then the next day is when Renee shows up, and then she leaves, and then they go get the diamond,
Yep.
and then she runs into her trying to pickpocket her.
Right.
Yeah. So Dinah is getting pickpocketed by Cassandra, and she notices,
Hmm.
and then she like grabs her hand and is like, you'll pick the wrong person's pocket one day.
At
And
which
she's
point,
like, whatever. And then she goes and like steals a couple of other things and pickpockets Zaz.
yeah, the diamond that they've been looking for.
Yeah. And then she gets caught and taken to the police station.
Yep.
And then we sort of,
Backtrack.
fast forward back to Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
It's a very winding story, and it's very because like if I feel like if you told it in continuity, it wouldn't breathe as well, and you
Mhm.
wouldn't get to spend as much consistent time with the characters, and
Mhm.
I think it would be too jumpy.
Sure.
So like I really did like how it went.
You'd almost have to have like, meanwhile, down the street, this was happening. Like,
Yeah, at the same time this was happening
yeah,
2 blocks away or whatever, right? Yeah.
because basically the whole movie's happening. I mean, not the whole movie, but there are a lot of parts that are happening at the same time that they're like revisiting, or the flashback happened at the same time as something else in the movie that's happening.
Right.
For example, blowing up ace chemicals in the crime scene.
Yeah.
So
And then eventually in the Black Canaries thing, doesn't it go to uh it goes to Harley sitting in the chair?
yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in this flashback. It's actually before we go back to the police station, that's right.
Yeah.
Um so you see Harley or you Zaz tells Roman that they lost the diamond.
Hmm.
Or that Cassandra stole the diamond, not necessarily that they had it and then lost it, but that Cassandra stole the diamond. Basically to save to cover himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Roman starts getting mad, and he's like, "Well, we caught Harley, so let's go talk to her."
That's right.
Um, and then so there's the convincing scene, basically the coercion where Harley's convinced to Harley basically like weasels her way out of dying because
Yeah.
Roman really has it after her.
Yeah.
And
Because she
she
no longer has the Joker to protect her.
right,
So
right. And if you guys can hear that, that's the best sound in the world because my dog is finally drinking water. Um, he's been sick the past couple of days, so this is great. Um,
so we're in the chair. We're in the bar.
yeah, we're in the bar, in the chair, and Roman punches Harley for talking too much,
Yeah. Which
and it cuts to like a
which
musical number.
It knocks her into like yesterday,
Yeah.
where she's having a musical number. Oh man, that's a good part. That's a good moment.
Yeah, I thought that bit worked very well because like it does like reinforce a little bit that Harley's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Like it's like the world that she sees and interacts with is not necessarily the one that we see and interact with. Um, and he sort of like hits her again, and it sort of like knocks some sense back into her, basically. And she convinces him with a business card that she made that she will go get Cassandra.
Yeah. Finder of things.
Yeah, finder of things / life coach.
Yeah.
Which is probably my favorite.
/ mercenary.
Yeah, / dog walker.
Yeah. All these things.
Yeah, and I thought that was a fun little
great.
detail to come back from the very beginning of the movie, basically.
For sure. Yeah.
And they he agrees, and that's the point where it fast forward.
Yeah. So basically, she says she's gonna go find Cassandra Cain, and we fast forward back to the police station where she's in there just blowing things up. And just this whole fight scene of running. The thing that I found funny and felt very much out of the Arkham game was the ones that blow up into confetti.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember where that is, but I feel like at some point, Batman, like you're shooting like the batarangs or something like that, and instead of it being a batarang or something like that, it's like a confetti
Oh,
ball or something like that. I forget.
don't remember.
I forget exactly how it works. It's not a batarang, obviously, but
Mhm.
something like that where he's trying to fight, and like it ends up being just like a like a toy gun out of
Yeah.
like Looney Tunes or something.
Right.
That's just what it felt like. But it's again Harley Quinn, colorful.
Mhm.
She's in a police station blowing things up with a confetti gun, basically.
Yeah, beanbags, confetti, glitter,
Yeah.
and just like chalk paint, I guess, because it like
Yeah.
creates some sort of fog.
That's true. Yeah, a little like.
Uh,
Yep.
it was a very cool Matrixy scene, which they do a clear callback to with the metal detector
Yep.
and the overcoat.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well. I do think that it felt a bit slow because she only had like one piece of ammunition at a time,
Mhm.
and also it felt a bit unrealistic because she wasn't shot immediately.
Yeah. That
It
was some of the plot
can
holes I was reading. Was like people were commenting the fact that you're in a police station and she doesn't get shot.
yeah, and like no one hears the commotion outside.
Yeah.
Um, Now there are a couple of shots that do go off,
Sure.
but they're very like close range and very clearly missed. And
Cops being bad cops.
Yeah.
Like not able to shoot.
right,
Straight out of easy mode on like Call of Duty. No.
yeah, yeah, basically. And then it goes to the sprinkler system slash Cassandra Cain
The-
release fight.
Yeah, the holding cell, where there's again a bunch of like people with grievances.
Yeah.
that we meet. We don't really know who they are. Basically goons, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And they all fight kind of in this rainstorm or sprinkler rain.
Yeah.
Um,
It made for some cool shots. I
oh, for
think.
sure. Yeah, I was
Uh,
thinking very cinematically. Like, okay, they did this for a reason.
Yeah.
One was like, you see her trying to open the cells, and like she's just mashing every button, and literally just like bang, 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 bang on like this panel of buttons, and sprinkler malfunction, and so
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's just like, drenched in water. But then even like the water on the floor, they had like probably an inch deep level of water.
Yeah. So
layer.
it made the kicks really cool.
Yeah.
All the acrobatic stuff
Yep.
worked really well, and like she uses her environment very well. I think
She does.
that's one of the things that they do in the rest of the police scene
Mm-hmm.
or the police station scene was using that. It was
Yeah.
very interesting.
One thing I hated, there was one shot where she uses a cell door to like fight off a guy, and I was like, this is so poorly. That was one of those slow action shots where like the goon clearly has time to react to this cell door that's about to squish him,
Yeah.
or something like that. I
Yeah.
just felt like it was not.
I actually
It was a slow beat.
that was actually one of that actually like I had a thought about that one while I was watching the movie because
Mhm.
like it doesn't feel like when she deals with that guy that she's dealt with him.
Oh yeah,
Like
that
she
too.
she pushes him up, basically like knocks him up against the cell, and then uses the cell door to swing and hit the other guy.
Mhm.
But he doesn't actually get hit by the cell door.
yeah,
He's only there like he's only standing up because she was like pushing off of him.
yeah,
But it doesn't feel like she dealt with him,
right.
which was really interesting. And that one definitely took me out of the moment because I did notice that.
Mhm.
But other than that, I liked that one, and then it kept going into another fight scene.
Yep.
Not that they're bad. It's just that like putting them all together, like it didn't feel super well paced because they were all very, very much like I want to say like video game levels, basically,
Mm,
right?
interesting. Yeah.
Where they're their own unique little environment.
Let's beat the police station. Let's
Yeah.
beat the holding cell. Let's beat the evidence locker.
Yeah, with like totally different enemies, unrelated, right?
Yeah. True.
And because like there's no police response basically except for Montoya,
Yeah.
which is not how that should have gone.
But also like throwing a phone at somebody's face isn't gonna knock them unconscious.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens.
No, she dodges, or she throws the phone and then, oh no, it does knock her unconscious, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Unless she hits her with something else.
Mm-mm.
Maybe you're right.
She may have hit it
Um,
with like, maybe she kicked it. She dropped it and kicked it or something
I
like
think
that.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like flew at her face, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're right. And yeah, I thought that one worked. I thought like, I don't know, there were a bunch of mercenaries there, and I feel like that one could have gone faster too.
Yeah.
But I do think that the fight, like the individual fights, were well paced.
Sure.
It was just like the overall stitching of the scene together
Yeah.
that wasn't great.
Yeah.
But it was fine, and also like it gave her and Cassandra some fun moments where like Cassandra was just like running away
Yeah.
constantly, and then occasionally helping.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Speaking of helping, the way that scene kind of concludes is knocking
Mhm.
Montoya unconscious, and she kind of just grabs Cassandra because she got knocked unconscious because there was a goon that had her, and like she shot the goon, or Harley shot the goon, and they kind of fell to the floor.
Yeah.
So Cassandra's unconscious. She picks her up and kind of like
Puts her in a minivan.
puts her in a minivan. They're driving down the street, and all of a sudden, like it's another group of goons trying to get her.
Yeah.
And because by the way, once let me tell you how we got here. Once Roman decides to send Harley Quinn on this mission, he also sends out a like text message broadcast notification to all the criminals in Gotham for $500,000 reward for Cassandra. So they're not necessarily going after Harley; they're trying to get the $500,000 reward for catching Cassandra or getting the diamond back.
Right.
But they don't know that. So you have these guys come up. They're driving down the highway across like a bridge, not to be confused with the George Washington Bridge,
Yeah.
or something like that. um,
Yeah. It's one girl, in the van or in the convertible.
oh, you're right. Yeah.
And then like Cassandra wakes up and then she hands her the stick of dynamite to throw out the window.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
That was funny. She's like, "What did I just do?" or
Yeah.
"What did I just blow up?" or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So she kind of gets away, and they end up going back to like the grocery store, right?
yeah, they go to a grocery store, and it's a bit of a bonding moment
Yeah.
between the two of them, and then they
Buying-
rob the grocery store.
Shoplift from it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, they shoplift from the grocery store, and then you go meet what's his face?
Doc.
Doc. Yeah. I knew it was like a three-letter name. It's like Sal. No, that's not right.
He's
Doc.
like a Taiwanese chef, I think, or
Yeah. Owner of a Taiwanese restaurant.
yeah, which happens to be in the basement of her apartment.
Yeah.
Who's kind of always protected her. And he calls her Lotus Flower, and just kind of like very much Mr. Miyagi for her.
Yeah.
Less of like the teaching and wax on, wax off, but like as far as like the older kind of grandpa fellow.
Yeah, that's true. And like he doesn't give her up immediately,
Yeah,
but
no.
he does eventually.
Yeah, basically.
Which like it sucks, and I totally understand. Like he has a point when he's like, too many people offering me too much money.
Yeah, right. I thought that was a funny line. It's just business.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So they go upstairs into her apartment and kind of hang out there for a little while, and again, more of the bonding moment. And I think one of my favorite lines was her commenting on the fact, like, I love having a kid around or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, she's like growing up real quick. This is weird for Harley Quinn, this crazy psycho person, basically. That's my image of her.
Mhm.
But she does a really good job of like parenting.
Yeah.
Of this kid, just kind of like being a protector, a guardian, because we know that Cassandra's had a rough life and rough family life.
Yeah, but Harley doesn't know that.
Harley
which
doesn't
is
know that.
which is really interesting.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, what is it you hear? Like, how does that next change?
Someone knocks on the door and says that they're a Gotham PD.
Gotham PD. That's right.
This scene you also get introduced to. You get to see Bruce again for the second time.
Rewind. How we
yeah.
got here. This is also where you're kind of introduced to the Huntress, right?
Yes. Yeah. The Huntress shows up after they shoplift from the grocery store. She shows up at Doc's.
Yep.
And gets almost exactly Harley's order.
Yeah.
Just not
not as spicy.
Not as spicy.
Harley gets it with 2 peppers, and she gets it mild.
Yeah.
But Doc apparently knows everybody, and the Huntress or Crossbow Killer knows that he knows everybody, and asks, she's looking for somebody, and Doc is. Were you gonna say something?
Right. Yeah, because she's like it's ambiguous because it's not clear that she's looking for Harley.
Exactly.
Which I didn't actually think about till now because it implies that she's looking for Harley.
Yeah.
Because that's what it implies for most of the movie is that she's on Harley's tail.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. She's like, I know you know in Taiwanese. She's like, I know you know every
low life
in the city. And Doc's like, well, yeah, maybe, but who are you looking for? And then it cuts away.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's right.
And then we learn about the kind of origin story of the Huntress, with the family connection, and because she's like, I am, or they call me, or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
She stumbles over like introducing herself.
Yeah, because they cut it. They when she's like, they call me.
Ugh, or they call me.
Yeah, yeah, and then it cuts back.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. And then it turns out that she is the daughter of a rival crime family,
the
the Bertinellis.
Bertinellis.
Yeah, Bertinellis.
Yep, Bertinellis, which we learned earlier in the movie, because Harley is like, yeah, those Bertinellis. This diamond,
the Bertinelli massacre, Bertinellis. Yeah.
exactly. This diamond is what they have been kind of hunting for this whole time, which we now know Cassandra has, that Roman's been looking for, that actually belongs to the Huntress in reality. So we get this origin story of she walked in on the massacre and was the only one that was left alive, and not on purpose, but one of the goons kind of takes her in and takes her to like Sicily or something like that. I forget exactly where it was.
To grow up with his brothers or his brother and his dad who were also hitmen.
Yeah, we're hitmen and like wild fighter, like crazy awesome fighters.
So I wanted to talk about this earlier, but I didn't want to spoil it. One of the things that I think that like really humanizes the Huntress, because until this point she's just a badass that shows up and shoots stuff basically.
Yeah.
And like it explains why, right? And it really implies this bit, but you can tell in the rest of her scenes in the group, she's very uncomfortable talking to groups of people.
Yeah.
And interacting, and like in a social situation, it's like if you don't think about how she only grew up like basically in a monastery with like two other people, right? If you don't like make that connection, it's like it doesn't really humanize her as much, but like it's a very nice detail of like, yeah, she grew up like this, so there's no way she would be, super comfortable around people,
Right.
and so that detail comes out very, very well, I think, especially in the last scene.
Yeah. And we don't necessarily learn that she's on a particular mission at this point yet. We learn that later in the amusement park, right?
No, we do, because they talk about, because she goes through like, you see it from her perspective of who she's been killing and why.
Yeah.
And so in particular, you don't know that she doesn't know that Sionis is involved. You don't know that Zaz is one of the killers unless you're paying attention, because Zaz does show up.
Yeah.
But he is like he's younger.
Yeah. Without all the scars.
Yeah, without all the scars.
Okay.
And like it's like I didn't notice them until they flashback again.
Yeah.
Which I thought worked, and I was like, I do remember seeing that guy, but I just didn't make the connection that it was Zaz. Which I thought that was a very, very nice touch.
Yeah.
And then she introduces herself, and then it cuts away.
Yeah.
Right.
So we come back to the dock, and like she says, the Huntress is who she is, but then cut back to the Gotham PD scene, or knocking on the door, and PD, and then they look out the window, and there's like this dude with a catapult looking thing, I guess, or
so a giant slingshot on the back of a truck
with
an explosion. Yeah.
Oh man.
And we think that Bruce dies.
Yeah. Yep.
And which like sort of sucks. They sort of gloss over it a little bit because they don't have time to deal with it, basically.
Yeah.
But
she grieves momentarily, and then they have to go.
Yeah.
Which was a weird transition, because like upstairs blew up, and she looks for Bruce, can't find him, and like suddenly she's out on the street. Like I get cinematically time passed. I felt like maybe they kind of moved past the guy out there trying to murder them a little bit too quickly, because it wasn't just about murdering, or maybe this person didn't know about the $500,000 reward and was just trying to murder Harley Quinn.
I think it's kind of implied that the guy that says it's Gotham PD isn't actually a cop.
Right.
He's with the other guy in the truck.
Okay.
That was my understanding. Was like the guy that knocks on the door is like the driver or something. But you don't see how they get out of the apartment, whether or not that is actually Gotham PD.
Yeah.
And it cuts to Doc, and the guy that tried to blow up the house is gone. This is total non-entity. At this point.
Yeah.
So that is something that I didn't notice until you mentioned it. But yeah, that's pretty jarring. because then they have like a calm conversation with Doc.
Yeah. Yeah.
A calm, sad conversation with Doc, but still a calm
Yeah, he's like
conversation with him.
packing up his van or whatever truck, and that's when the reveal about people offered me too much money or something like that. Too many people were
Yeah,
offering me money.
yeah,
So clearly, like probably Huntress, probably these dudes, probably who knows,
yeah.
Roman or somebody like that, um, offering him money to catch Cassandra slash Harley.
Mhm.
Where do they go from here?
So it's at that point that she decides, okay, I'm gonna take you. She takes Cassandra to the funhouse,
That's right.
and calls. I think she calls Roman directly and says to meet
That's
her
right.
there.
Yep.
And then Roman sends Zaz, and Canary,
Yep.
and Canary tells
Canary
Montoya.
texts Montoya where they're
Uh,
meeting.
yeah, and you see the hunters following them on the way there,
Hmm.
and then Montoya texts back, and Zaz sees it, has her pull over,
Yeah.
and he calls Roman, and Roman organizes a bunch of people to go,
Hmm.
but
He
bef-
says he's coming down there himself.
yeah, yeah, which is a big deal. And so then after that, I think it goes straight to the funhouse
Hmm.
with Harley basically tying Cassandra to a toilet,
Yeah.
or duct taping her to a toilet. Since Cassandra ate, one of the things that we glossed over at
Oh, that's right.
the convenience store was that Harley was buying a bunch of laxatives to get the diamond out.
Yep.
Uh,
Because Cassandra ate the diamond.
right. And then, um, let's see. So Montoya breaks in first, right?
I think so.
And then they fight, and Harley like tosses her out
Yeah.
on the roof, and then Zaz shows up.
That was something that I didn't catch because I don't know how far she fell, but then she came back pretty quickly,
I think she came back through the window, so she like fell like onto like like a little
like a
balcony out
ledge.
there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure she comes back through the window,
I'll
if I
have to.
remember right. We'll have to check.
Yeah.
Uh, we're not gonna go buy the movie again to check,
No.
or we're gonna buy tickets again to check. Well, it's fine. Um, because I don't think like she follows the story and then walks all the way back up.
Right.
Because I think she's up there. Um,
That makes sense.
and then yeah, after she's down, Zaz shows up.
Yep. Zaz and
Uh,
Canary.
and
Well,
Canary.
yeah. And they hear Cassandra kind of screaming.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, they trank Harley first.
that's true.
Yeah, Zaz tranks Harley.
Yep.
And then they hear Cassandra like trying to scream through the duct tape in the bathroom, and Zaz figures out that Cassandra ate it,
Yep.
and tries to get Dinah to cut her open.
Yep. Mm.
And when she doesn't, he freaks out and is like, "I know that you betrayed Roman, whatever." And like he's about to kill her, and then the hunter shows up.
Dun 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 dun.
Um, Actually, there's a bit in between all of this where Zaz is talking to Harley,
Hmm.
and he does he does the Zaz thing, which is like, I've been saving a spot just for you,
Oh yeah.
for his tally mark scars on his chest,
Oof.
or his entire body, really. But yeah, okay. And so then the hunter shows up
Mhm.
and shoots Zaz before he can hurt Canary,
Yep.
and then
Or Cassandra for that matter.
yeah, that too. And then after that, Montoya comes up.
There's this funny bit too because Huntress shoots Zaz and he falls like right next to Harley, and Harley like pulls out the trank that was in her neck and is like, "Yeet, yeet, yeet," while
Yeah,
also still being like relatively tranked.
yeah, yeah. She's still like regaining composure and
But she's just
just doing a couple of
with
little stabs to Zaz in the back.
with all her might,
Yeah,
everything she has left.
yeah,
Yeah. So then
it's pretty
Montoya
good.
jumps up and that's when they realize that there's a whole bunch of people outside.
Yeah, they're sort of stuck together.
Yeah.
And like the huntress is about to leave, and
Yeah,
then
she's like, "You guys got this. I'm not really involved. I came what I came to do,
yeah,
which was kill Zaz. I'm just gonna leave."
yeah. And then there's a Montoya that says, it's either Montoya or Harley that says, yeah, but because Montoya recognizes her as
Yes.
Bertinelli.
Yep.
And then I think Harley says Roman was behind it the whole time,
Hmm.
as he funded the little coup that ended up killing her parents.
Hmm. I think Montoya makes the comment something about the fact that you're not done yet or something like that
Mhm.
because Because yeah, we see like this army gathering outside now,
Yeah,
which is Roman and all of his goons / all the lowlifes in Gotham.
right. And then probably one of the best scenes in the movie. Probably one of like I think it's probably one of my favorite fight scenes in a while.
Yeah.
Is the funhouse fight.
Yeah.
Because like the girls are upstairs and they get to arm themselves a little bit with because this is clearly a place that Harley and the Joker have hung out at.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good gag where the Joker has taken almost all the weapons.
All the weapons, yeah.
And
Except for this little chest sitting on the floor, which has nothing more than like a few things. But
yeah, a few of Harley's things specifically.
Yes, exactly. Harley's mallet.
Harley's mallet. It's like it's a bulletproof corset.
Yeah, that's right.
That is very reminiscent of her animated series look, and it also has a couple of grenades.
Yep.
I think that's about it because I don't think Dinah gets anything.
I don't think so.
And Huntress already has her own stuff. So,
right.
And yeah, and they like a couple of groups come in at a time from different angles, and they go through the fight scenes and the funhouse. The last half of the funhouse fight was done in a single take. It was wild.
Which, if you haven't seen it and you're listening to the spoilers, it's this part with the hands. Or if you have seen it and you remember, the part with the hands.
Yeah, beginning with the hand part where Dinah and Harley are working together.
Basically, you see all of them on screen.
Yeah.
For this part, doing their own stunts, as you said.
Yeah, this is insane. And it worked really well. I really liked it. All the characters sort of get paired off a little bit.
Yep. Specifically Cassandra with each one of them at some point.
Yeah, and the Huntress one was good.
Yeah,
because it gives them an access to relate to each other.
Yep.
Right, because Cassandra is suddenly in the middle of danger, and Huntress has been there as a kid.
Yeah.
Around the same age, which I thought that worked out really well.
That was very good.
And yeah, so everybody has a good like team moment, basically, and then they think they're done as they walk out, and they're not because there's the other half of the army that's just out there.
Right, mostly Roman.
Yeah, and Cassandra gets napped, and we get the canary cry, which is really good.
So like, yeah, they were all getting shot at, yeah, the canary cry was great. It was good to see her like, oh, she's actually a superhero. Like she's got some superpowers, not just like she can sing, not just that she can fight.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't. I wasn't expecting it. I knew that she had that ability, but it wasn't like they had avoided kind of the superpower thing in this whole movie
almost entirely.
Yeah, until this moment.
And it takes a lot of her.
Yeah,
because she takes down like a solid like 15, 20 dudes, right?
Yeah,
in one go. Yeah,
I can do it.
Yeah. Well, you'll put in a bunch of effects, and just, blow people's speakers out.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really well done. It was really well set up, and like she falls down exhausted almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. It's a very cool like showing of like she's always had this power, but she doesn't control it. Because like she at least knows how to use it in one giant burst.
Yeah.
But there's no telling whether you don't know at this point whether she could use it in smaller bursts for multiple people over time.
Yeah. We saw it. We did see it pop up once before, kind of in the Black Canary origin part.
It's implied, yeah.
In the bar, yeah, where she doesn't. It's not like the canary cry, but it is like.
She breaks a glass.
She breaks a glass by singing so high and like a certain pitch. Which was the song was "This is a man's world," something like that. I forget how that song goes, but another very good musical number.
Yeah, really, that she actually sang.
Yeah,
that's the one that she actually sang. Right. Which I'm glad that you found out. I thought that was her, and I'm glad that it was. Yeah. As the only superpowered bit, I think that it worked really great, and it was like. It was saved for the right moment.
Yep.
And
the moment of like you're not sure if they're gonna get out of this.
Yeah.
And then we have a superhero here. It's fine. Like
we have this thing in our back pocket.
Yeah.
And
So
like that's something that I would like to see developed in other movies, because like one of the things that I like and that a lot of people like about Dinah's character, at least especially in like the animated stuff
mhm,
where she's portrayed in, because she shows up in Justice League
gotcha.
Unlimited a lot. I think it's Unlimited, or maybe it's regular Justice League, but she also shows up in Young Justice
Mm,
a bit. Is that she weaves it into her fighting style a lot.
gotcha.
Like it's a fifth limb basically, right,
Okay,
for her to like punch and kick with.
sure.
But she relies on martial arts first, and that's what this canary does, and
Yeah.
it's done very well. And there's also actually you can find a couple of like Twitter clips where uh, the canary fight scenes in the movie are, some of the stunts are lifted from the animated series.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
It was a nice little touch. You can tell like the people that made this movie really cared, and that's something
Mhm.
that I'm going to talk about later with a different movie. Um, but yeah, I really liked the funhouse fight. The slowdown, oh no, the car chase
The car chase.
was really ridiculous because you couldn't pull that stunt on an actual motorcycle without
Nope.
falling over. But yeah, you know that more than
Yeah.
anybody, right? Yeah, because you used to ride.
Dragging somebody around.
And
It's
swinging them.
it's yeah. What did you call it? Whip
Yeah,
whipper,
whipping her around,
which is a
and
roller derby term.
yeah, oh, that's
Which I
right, yeah.
loved because I'm
They
not
use it at
gonna.
the beginning of the movie.
They
That's right,
do.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say that
Uh,
I watched roller derby at a point in my life, but I have seen people roller derby.
yeah, no,
It used to
that's
be on
legit.
TV a lot.
Yeah, it's
At this
like,
weird specific time that I watched TV.
yeah, it's a legit sport. And man, yeah, no, you're right. I didn't even think about that's
Mhm.
exactly what she did at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, that was fun. I liked the rhythm of the car chase scene,
Mhm.
especially the first, like her taking down that convertible.
Mhm.
Because like there's like a bit where every hit is interspersed with a honk,
Oh
as she
yeah.
has to go and deal with the driver while she's dealing with somebody
Meh.
else.
Meh. Yeah.
Uh, that was fun. Oh, in the funhouse scene, there was a fun little fourth wall break from one of the other characters. It was like, Harley shows up in roller skates,
Oh
and they're
yeah.
like, when does she have time to do a shoe change?
Yeah. That was good.
Uh, and then yeah, there was the
So we go from the car chase to the dock,
yeah,
because Harley finally catches up with Roman and Cassandra in a car, and they crash, and they end up on Founders Pier,
hmm
um, which I guess is a location in Gotham. I don't.
probably.
I
I
don't.
don't remember.
Okay. I figured it
Gotham's a big place.
yeah. I figured it was something important because Founders Pier, and you have these there's these statues where you might have like a pier piles. I don't know what they're called. The things that actually go into the water and into the ground to hold the pier up.
Oh yeah, okay.
Those are like kind of headed by these statues.
Yeah.
Of presumably the founders of Gotham. And so it's a really old like boardwalk, and there's some holes, and it is an interesting scene because it's like completely black, and you sort of get the silhouette type um,
hmm
scene setting of you're not really sure if this statue is actually a person,
Right.
which ends up being like a point in the plot.
Yeah.
At some point, Montoya gives Harley a gun with only one bullet, and tells her to use it wisely, basically.
Yeah.
And she finally pulls it.
Her exact words were, "I trust you,"
Yeah.
which was real weird
Yeah.
because she was just chasing her down,
Yeah.
earlier in the day or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
So they get to like kind of the end of the pier, and I thought what was interesting is you hear these voices in the background, which I thought was the Joker. I don't, or was it Roman, the voice that you heard?
the person talking the entire time is Roman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's
It's
just that like it sounds like he's around her
yeah.
because they use that very specifically as just to ratchet up tension, because you don't know where he is and she doesn't know where he is.
Right. And
Uh,
he probably doesn't know where she is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. It just sounded very like Joker-esque in like the ghostliness of it, or the disembodiment.
Yeah, and like Roman's very playful
Yeah,
in that last scene
that's true.
because he feels like he has the upper hand
Yeah,
because
of
it's just
course.
her. She doesn't have any weapons.
Right.
But he has a gun and the kid.
Yep.
So he has leverage.
She ends up taking the one shot at a statue.
Yep.
Whoops.
Yep.
Um,
But it forces Roman out of hiding.
does. And then my favorite line, or like the Avengers coming back through the Doctor Strange portals, of like, she's like, "Hey, didn't you something about a ring or something? What was that line?"
Okay, so your version of on the left in this movie is
Yeah.
Cassandra being like, "I'm sorry, Harley, I stole your ring."
Oh yeah. And you hear this like the very distinct sound of a grenade pin being pulled,
Yeah,
which
and Cassandra holds up her hand, and there's the pin,
yep.
and Sionis looks at it, and Harley looks at it, and Sionis like tries to jump or tries to move away, and she must have like she stuffed it in his pocket or
Yeah.
something because like his his torso explodes.
Yep. Yeah. Pushed off the boardwalk and you body parts and stuff. It's fine.
Yeah, it was very brief. It was brief gore.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Day is saved.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
and they go get tacos.
They go get tacos.
And yeah, that you get to see them interact casually, which
Mhm.
is totally different than interacting under stress.
Right.
And that's sort of where you see the Huntress like not being able to like really talk to people.
Yeah. Bless her
Uh,
heart.
yeah, um,
She clearly like is still a little bit of like, I'm just gonna leave here, but they've trapped her basically
yeah,
in the corner booth.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. She's in the back corner booth. And they all have some fun banter with each other, and then uh, the kid finally poops the diamond.
Yeah. Well, we assume because she's like, she just gets up and runs to the bathroom. Harley's like, yeah, I gave her laxatives, gave her prune juice.
If this burrito doesn't make
Yeah,
it weird,
yeah, that was good. If this burrito doesn't make it come out.
yeah,
So she goes to the bathroom. The kid goes to the bathroom, and she calls for Harley's help. At which
like
point,
specifically Harley get the colander,
yeah,
which was a great line.
the like 7 people that were in the theater, we all kind of laughed. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I mean, we saw this like a week. Like, it's the 8th or 9th day that it's been
On
out.
a Tuesday night at 7 p.m.
10th, yeah, Monday night.
Oh yeah, it was a Monday
It's
night.
a holiday Monday night,
Yeah.
right? At a theater that's not even normally that busy because of
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, but yeah, it was a pretty good line. Um,
And next thing you know, they're running off into the
yeah, they
into the
steal
sunset
Canary's
together.
car,
Yeah, they steal Canary's car.
run off into the sunset together. They must have given whatever was in the like the data that was on the diamond to the Huntress
Sure.
because they talk about her having the fortune back,
Yep. Yeah.
and then Harley, now that the diamond is worthless, basically Harley pawns it off.
Yep.
And opens up her own business with her and the kid.
Harley and Associate.
Yeah. And then
Or Harley Quinn and Associate, whatever.
yeah, I think that yeah, it was one of those. And then it talks about what the others are up to, and Renee quits
Mm-hmm.
the police force
Yep.
because Danny Glover's character takes all the credit. That was Danny Glover, right? Or is it just somebody that looked like Danny Glover?
I
Um,
am letting you think that because you're normally pretty good at that. I don't
Okay.
remember, honestly.
I swear it was him. Anyway, and then you see
You're probably just confused with the 80s cop movies and
yeah,
Die
yeah,
Hard.
that's true. Although honestly, if I were casting a mini 80s cop movie in a DC movie, I would try to get Danny Glover
Oh,
for it.
absolutely.
And then you hear what the Huntress is doing with the money, and she's
Mhm.
funding the Birds of Prey.
Yep.
Which are at this point just Cassandra. Or no, sorry, not Cassandra. It's Renee, Helen, and Dinah, and it's really cool because you get to see them do like a warehouse scene,
Mhm.
and it cuts and like it does like the cool little rotating reveal, and the Huntress and Canary are in their old school costumes,
Yeah.
and like they're modernized a little bit. Canary's costume is pretty modern anyway, but the Huntress's is like, instead of it being like a skin tight purple and black top, it's a motorcycle jacket.
Mhm.
It's like a cropped motorcycle jacket, I
Yeah, yeah.
think. And Montoya is just in like a leather coat and jeans, and like I think she had like a white t-shirt on or
Mhm.
something. Because she's not a cop anymore. But here's the thing that I want to talk about earlier is that it was kind of disappointing to me that there wasn't room for it. And I totally understand why they didn't do it, is because of all of these like C-list characters, Renee Montoya existed as Renee Montoya, and then eventually takes up the mantle of the Question, which
Mm.
is another crime fighting superhero that, tying back to the Alan Moore episode a couple of weeks ago, was one of the properties from Charlton Comics, and is actually who primarily the character of Rorschach in Watchmen is based off.
Gotcha.
So she doesn't end up being the Question or taking up the mantle. So that might happen later. I don't know if there isn't really like a Question that exists at this point
Mhm.
in the show. Um, but in all the animated DC stuff, Renee exists as a cop. Like she actually shows up very early on in the Batman animated series
Mm.
as a cop, and the Question is his own character in those shows. Um, but that's who she eventually becomes, and I'm actually totally okay with either her developing being the Question herself later,
Mhm.
or just staying as Renee Montoya.
Yeah.
Like I don't one of one of the things about this movie is that uh none of these women characters let the men around them define them,
Yep.
and uh it comes similar to why I don't want the Joker to show up in one of the movies.
Mhm.
But if she ends up taking up the mantle of the Question, a male vigilante, then it just sort of like cheapens the message of this original movie,
Gotcha.
to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but I did like that shot. There's a lot in that shot. The shot is like 3 seconds, and unless you already know like what their old costumes are, it doesn't matter. It just
Yeah.
looks cool.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just like a flash forward to this is what the birds of prey are doing now,
yeah,
which is the message I got.
yeah. So I would watch that movie.
Yeah.
Just those three, and maybe somebody else, ideally Oracle,
Mm.
or Batgirl,
Yeah.
whichever. It doesn't have to be Oracle, but I think Oracle would be good, because Oracle is one of those superheroes that, uh, even though she wasn't, or she becomes like physically disabled, but overpowers that a lot.
Mhm.
And it would be a good thing. One of the things about this movie is also kind of very important is the representation. The cast is very diverse,
Mhm.
right? Not just being mostly women, but like racially too, and also on the LGBTQIA spectrum, like it's a that sort of those sorts of relationships are implied or like outright stated of happening in the character's past,
Mhm.
and then the Zaz and Black Mask one are is kind of implied. They might
Mhm.
just be like the best of friends,
Yeah.
right, but they're very close,
Very.
and like the more representation is always good, and it doesn't take away from the movie at all because it's not like in your face,
Yeah.
and all the actresses worked really really well, and so I think that like adding Oracle specifically as opposed to Barbara Gordon's Batgirl is another avenue that we just don't, or adds another layer that we don't see in any other comic book
Mhm.
comic book property today. DC actually even retconned that, so Barbara Gordon at the moment isn't paralyzed anymore.
Interesting.
So they did that. I want to say 2010, 2002, or 2012. It is a very recent change in the world of comic books. Um, but yeah, that's the movie. There's a
That's
bit of
the movie.
a post-credit
Scene.
scene.
It's straight out of Homecoming? Just an audio clip. Was it Homecoming?
No, Homecoming's not an audio clip because you see it.
Was it
It just cuts.
Captain Marvel?
It's like
Where you hear the hammer? Thor's hammer? Or sorry, the
Iron Man's hammer at
Iron
the end of
Man's.
Endgame.
Was it Endgame?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You hear him hammering away.
Yeah. It's in yeah.
Yeah, it was a very fun little thing. But it's kind of like Homecoming where it cuts.
Yeah.
Like it just cuts right in the middle of it basically. Um, but Homecoming had to do it to keep its PG-13 rating. Because that was an F bomb
Yeah.
that they cut. This had R, but it was a Bruce Wayne as Batman thing, right?
Right.
Which is really funny.
Yeah. I have a secret to tell you about Batman or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Batman is really, and then cut,
Yeah.
which I thought was fun. I mean, without knowing that there would be a sequel later, I totally understand not putting like another teaser at the end or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I liked it a lot. We talked about it way more than I expected we would. Because I actually thought we would move past the spoiler section faster and just like not talk about the movie as in depth. But the more I talk about it, the more I like it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to like about this movie.
There's a lot. There's a lot to like. It's hard not to have the mindset of this is not a Marvel movie. This is not as it wasn't as funny as a Marvel movie.
Yeah, they can be.
But
The Marvel movies can be pretty lighthearted and
yeah,
very very comedic at times.
they have Disney behind them, so they kind of have to be in a way. I think for me, going to go see a movie, I prefer to go see the lighthearted movies. Generally, I'm going to go see a comedy or something that's going to make me feel relatively good.
Yeah.
Infinity War was not that, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
I just I think that's part of why I didn't like it was like the gore was excessive, the language was excessive, and it wasn't quite as funny as I would have liked it to be. Especially knowing Harley Quinn's like she's a Joker's character, like a jokester character.
Yeah.
Like sort of playing on the words
Yeah.
of her being like in relation with Joker previously.
Right.
But I don't know. And there were some lighthearted, fun moments. I think we talked earlier. Some jokes landed, some jokes didn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I thought that like it was entertaining enough on its own. And yeah, I would definitely go see another one. So I guess that was that, and this is it. Andy, what you been up to?
Oh, what have I been up to? So, fun story. About at this point, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let's just say early February, I was stricken with the flu. So what did I do? I watched The Office because the last time I got the flu, what did I do? I watched The Office.
Yep.
Last time I got the flu was I think like seasons 1, 2, and 3 were definitely out on DVD. Maybe season 4 was out on DVD.
Okay.
And when I say out on DVD, I mean Netflix was sending DVDs to me at that point, or probably
Yep.
Blockbuster. Who knows?
Oh.
I just remember getting like, I honestly probably had both subscriptions going because you could only get so many DVDs at a time.
Yeah.
Or I could just get one from Blockbuster and one from Netflix and make my way through The Office.
Mhm.
So I've been watching The Office. I'm currently halfway through season 6, which is when a particular couple get married. I think I'm on part 1 of that, maybe part 2 now.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to stop watching it because this is when it just doesn't get very good. It
Yeah.
goes downhill from here.
Yeah.
Fun story though, before I had gone on this Office binge,
Yeah.
I hiked a waterfall, which was a lot of fun.
Right.
I've been doing some more outdoor stuff because it's fun. It makes for a fun time. And we went to Amicalola Falls and hiked to the top, which if you've never been up there, like it's I don't know exactly how high the waterfall is, but the way that you get up there, there's 2 ways. You can go the direct route, which is up like 500 something stairs, which is not the way that you should go up.
Okay.
And then there's actually like a mountainous trail, which is
Okay.
what we did. But it was still like, it was a Saturday and it was cold. I think it was like maybe upper 30s, lower 40s.
Oh, wow.
And this is actually not why I got sick or how I got sick. Lou?
Yeah.
No, it was your birthday party that I got sick at.
Yeah. Lou, who you might remember from the video game episode.
Love you, man.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. It's okay.
That's the thing. It's your boss's fault.
He got con crud from work convention out in Vegas and brought it back and got Andy and Clay sick.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have survived.
You must have been because you were sitting like to the side of him.
Yeah.
Clay and I were sitting next to each other, like in his speaking direction.
Right.
That's the only thing I could think of is why we
Also,
got
you guys
it.
were hanging out a little bit longer because you guys beat me there.
That's true. Yeah.
But oh no, well, I guess we were all still hanging out afterwards. After you left, because you left earlier. I forgot.
I don't know.
Yeah. I got lucky.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Well, since you didn't get the flu, what you been up to?
9-9's back.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. I need to watch it.
Season 7.
Good.
It's real good.
Yeah.
the episodes that have come out so far are they're perfect continuations of the show. Like they're like it's the show has 7 seasons, and there aren't always like story arcs or callbacks to previous episodes, except for the seasonal Doug Judy episode,
Yeah.
which hasn't happened yet. I'm sure that they're saving it towards the second half, but um, there's it starts out
Don't spoil too much.
and it starts out like almost immediately after season 6,
Okay.
after the end of season 6, and not that something drastic happened in season 6. I just don't want to spoil it because it's still a very recent show. But there's some of the history that has happened over the course of the rest of the series comes back to bite them,
Mm,
and not necessarily because they did something wrong back then, but because they do something wrong now
gotcha.
because of their past. It's really good.
It's been like a year and a half since season 6, right?
I want to say a little under uh over a year, under a year, because it ended in like May, I think.
Hmm.
Because there wasn't a Halloween episode last year because they ended it in May. Um, and that might happen this time unless they split the season up again.
Mm.
In which case, we'll finally get we'll get another heist. There was a heist episode last season; it just wasn't on Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Um, which I love the show like having something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really good because like you can expect a Doug Judy episode.
Yep.
Or a Doug Judy two-parter
Yep.
as they keep expanding, and then you can expect a heist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the main characters have come a really long way, and it's been a very interesting show.
Good.
I also saw Sonic.
Oh yeah. How was it?
It was better than I expected it
Okay.
to be.
How was the Sonic look?
It was great.
Did he look good?
Yeah, it was fine. I feel like if I had never seen Sonic before, the old one would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, like the eyes are bigger and way more expressive,
Mm-hmm.
and Ben Schwartz's voice is really really good for Sonic, and there are a lot of like little nods to the games in there. There are a lot of big nods to the games in there, and yeah, I think like the dynamic between Sonic and James Marsden's character and yeah, Jim Carrey actually did a really good job in it.
Good.
And it was fun to watch. It was worth the price of admission. Don't know if I would see it again, just because like there's some issues I have with it, like very obvious product placement.
Oh yeah.
Hysterically obvious. It's one of those things we talked about it because there's a particular bit where someone's like, "Oh, what are these?" and the other person's like, "Oh, these are just some apartments that I pulled up on Zillow." That is a totally real and normal line to have in real life.
Sure.
Because that's something that I've said to you or you've said to me, right? When
Yeah.
we're house hunting, right?
Yeah.
Where when we were looking for places to move, it's like, "Oh, what are these?" Like, "Oh, these are just some places that I was looking at earlier when I was checking Zillow."
Mm-hmm.
But in a movie where they say that and they sort of like cut to a laptop with Zillow on it
Oh no.
for a couple of seconds while they're talking,
Oh man.
it definitely like takes like really pulls you out of the movie.
Yeah.
And then one of them they play up as a joke, which lands really. It hit me. It hit me really good at the end.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily like a great use of this product placement, but it was. If they had to do it, I'm glad that they made fun of themselves for doing it. But yeah, it worked really well. The singer I didn't expect.
Mm.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that if you didn't catch the stinger, or if you do go see Sonic, definitely catch the stinger, especially if you're a fan of the games.
Okay.
And I would 100% watch the sequel.
Is it mid credits, end credits?
I think it's oh no.
There's only one though, right? So if I
Yeah,
just stick around until I
there's
see
only
it.
one, and I think it's mid credits.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really good. There's a lot of like stuff that it definitely fits. There's a lot of stuff that's sort of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a movie that's made for kids, and I can definitely see it being like one of those movies that if I was a kid now, I would definitely have that on repeat.
Gotcha.
Like I would watch it way more than once because it's fine, it's funny, um, it's heartfelt / touching enough, and yeah, I would definitely go see a sequel, and I really hope that it gets one because it was good.
Nice. Is it gonna be
That
called Tales, the movie?
Sonic 2 Tails and Knock.
Yeah, Tails and Knuckles. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and the way that they turn the rings into something that matter was pretty cool.
Right on.
Um, and I mean, it was very contrived, but it totally worked.
Yeah. Speaking of video games, what else have you been doing?
Thank you, because I forgot. Finally started Kingdom Hearts 3 again
Again.
after the Remind DLC came out, which is like a giant story patch plus a bunch of like super hard boss fights.
Ooh.
And to get myself basically prepped for it, back used to the battle system, because I beat Bloodborne after spending like three consecutive streams on this one boss.
Yeah.
Everything else was a breeze. I think after beating the Orphan, which you've seen me fight,
Yep.
a
A lot.
lot. Were you there when I beat him?
I think
you were.
I was, but I think I had like looked away at the time.
Yeah.
And like maybe gone downstairs or something and just not watched you actually beat him.
Yeah.
I came back and it was done.
Yeah. So I beat him, and then like there was another boss on the DLC that I missed, so I went back and I beat him in
Right.
3 or 4 tries. And then I booted up the game to like go through a specific part, and I accidentally beat it. Basically, like I knew who the last boss was, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do this boss because it's before the last boss and something happens if you beat the second to last boss. But I sort of like breezed through this part that was giving me a bunch of problems. I'm like, all right, I'll just keep going. And then I fight Murgo's Wet Nurse, which is one of my favorite boss designs in video games. When you edit the video, you should totally put up a picture of Murgo's Wet Nurse. It's very cool. And I beat it in one go. Like I didn't die at all.
Nice.
I barely got hit. And I was like, well, there's literally nothing else for me to do, and I've only been streaming for 30 minutes, so let's go finish the game. And I beat the last boss in, I think he took me 3 tries, and then the secret boss took me 2. Like after the Orphan, everything was just a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Orphan was easily the hardest fight I've ever done. And then switching to Kingdom Hearts is totally different, because in Bloodborne you can get yourself into situations where you just die. But you can take a lot of hits, especially towards the end of the game. You can take a lot of hits, and like back away and heal yourself a little bit. In Kingdom Hearts on critical mode, which they didn't have initially with the game, they added it in a patch over the summer, and I hadn't played since the game came out. So I'm like adjusting to it. You die in 2 hits.
Oh.
You don't really get cure until a particular point in the game. So you have to use a bunch of potions.
Yeah.
And like you have to use the weird block mechanic, which you can kind of do in Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, you can't block. You don't get a shield. You do get a shield, but it has one specific use. But you can like parry, which is right before somebody attacks, you attack them with a gun, or you shoot them with a gun, and then you can get an extra damage attack in. But in Kingdom Hearts, you just have to block, and it's just like getting back and getting used to that has been interesting.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be revisiting these characters again, because like it's really well written, because it assumes that you know all these characters, and so there's not like a really big reintroduction. There's just like some reminders of the stuff that happened in the other games. And so like it jumps in, and like Donald and Sora are like just giving each other crap like they're old friends, because they are, and it's just like something that it was a really nice touch. Like they have a bunch of like great banter, and it's really fun. So yeah, I'm streaming that right now. That's been a lot of fun.
Good.
But that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that was.
You know who else is it?
Taylor Poole. You got me. You beat me to it.
Pretty sure how we're gonna transition there.
I'm glad that you finally. It's not that you figured out the transition; it's that I told you the transition. That's right.
I'm just here to help.
You're doing great. Yeah. So Taylor Poole.
Yeah.
Taylor Poole did our awesome theme song. You can check his music out at taylorpoolemusic.com. That's TAYLORE. No, TAYLORPOOLE music.com. That's the one. Yeah.
And you can find us at twitch.tv/C&C Power Hour. That's C, letter N, letter C, Power Hour, POWERHOUR, where we stream Magic the Gathering and video games throughout the week. You should also check out our website, cuzwerenerds.com. That's CUZWERENERDS.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Cuz We're Nerds. Stay up to date with all the nerdy news and podcast drops by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also leave us comments and feedback at cuzwerenerds@gmail.com. That's cuzwerenerds@gmail.com. Finally, if you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you could leave us a review on iTunes. And as always, stay nerdy.